the world is changing to be using technology as our main method of communication. And if you don't use it, you will get left behind. There's no way around it. You have to show your face if you want to continue to be successful in this business.
Welcome back to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Favazza. Today, we are thrilled to have a husband and wife team that exemplify resilience and adaptability in their careers. I am talking about Kristin and Kendall Reyes of the Reyes Home Team with Real Brokerage, who focus mainly in Southern New Hampshire and Northern Mass. Kristin Reyes brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to her partnership with Kendall. With a background in marketing and a keen understanding of market trends, she complements Kendall's strengths perfectly. Kendall's transition from a successful 6-year NFL career to real estate is a testament to his drive and determination. His experience in professional sports cultivated a mindset of discipline, teamwork, and goal setting, qualities that seamlessly translate into his current role as a real estate professional. Together, Kristin and Kendall have honed their skills to become top producers in their local real estate market. Beyond their individual strengths, they emphasize the power of teamwork and collaboration in their success. They are not just business partners, but also life partners, sharing a passion for helping clients achieve their real estate dreams. In their journey, Kristin and Kendall prioritize client satisfaction above all else. They are known for their integrity, dedication, and personalized approach to every transaction. So without further ado, Kristin and Kendall, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. That was such a nice intro. I feel like we need to just steal that and use it in our own market.
I will give you full access to that for after. You can use it on your bio. Feel free.
Wow.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're so welcome. It's funny. Usually I run through the intro in the beginning, and I think we got caught up on that first thing, and I never ran through the rest. So I'm glad that you liked it.
Oh, yeah.
So guys, take us back to the beginning. When did you guys both get into real estate, and why did you decide to get into real estate?
Yeah, I think that it was kind of something we always thought we would want to get into. We had bought a couple of multifamilies while Kendall was playing football, and we just kind of felt like we would really like the industry. And there was never really a perfect time for it, but he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I took the 40-hour class, and then I never took the test because I chickened out. I was like, how am I going to sell real estate when we have a new boy and he's playing on the Chiefs? And so then a year later, we both took the 40-hour test together and took the test together and passed.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Luckily, you both passed at the same time.
Yeah.
I think I'm not super competitive. Kendall is, but I'm really competitive just with Kendall.
Yeah, he's competitive. Everyone's competitive in their own ways.
But so there was absolutely no way I was letting him pass the test without me passing. So we were definitely both passing.
But yeah, I would say in terms of, our beginnings, it was, I was in the middle of my football career. Kristin was, getting her license because at that time the plan was, from the capital that we make from football, we'll go flip some houses. She'll go sell, like the
Smart.
Chip and Joanna Gaines. That's the HGTV era we grew up in. So that was kind of like what we always wanted to do when football was done. But then when I was with Kansas City, I ended up having a pretty nasty injury. It was drawn out over the next year or two, but ended up ending my career. And during that time, we're like, okay, well, this happened quicker than we thought it was going to happen. So let's just do it. Let's just jump right in. As Kristin mentioned, we both took the test, and that's when it all started.
Yeah. So at that point, you guys had a couple of investment properties, or did you not start doing that until after?
We had already bought two.
While
you were still playing.
Because we played, we both played.
Yeah.
While we were still playing, we bought a couple of properties. Before and after, yeah. So it kind of, we always were investing, so it was natural to kind of keep going.
Yeah.
And so you were living in Kansas City, I'm assuming, for part of the time. But then were the properties that you were buying here, or were they there? How were you guys managing that?
Yeah, they were here. So we actually had the most insane year. What was that? 2016. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So his 4-year contract with the Chargers ended. Mm-hmm. We didn't know where he would go. Then he ended up getting picked up by the Redskins at the time. So we moved from San Diego to Virginia. And then we were with Virginia till the end of September or beginning of October.
We bought a house in Wyndham.
Yeah, we bought a house in Wyndham during that year. So this is
Mhm.
adding to the craziness. So San Diego to Virginia, we were in Virginia for like, say, 6 months. That ended very abruptly. I called my dad and my best friend from home and I was like, can you guys please fly down to Virginia and help me move everything home? Because if he was going to another city where I didn't know anybody, I'm like, I'm not going with our dog and our baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely not.
How old
So
was your child at that point?
1 and like 2 months, 14 months old.
God.
So my dad and my best friend from up here flew down and we drove everything home. And then right when we got home, we moved it into this tiny little 2-bedroom log cabin that we had bought in Wyndham that we thought was going to be our off-season house that we would just live in for like a month a year. And our house was not big enough already when we moved stuff from Virginia. But then 2 weeks later, he got picked up by the Chiefs. So he went down to Kansas City and me and our daughter would just come like stay for a couple weeks at a time. If he had like 2 home games, we'd go for the 2 home games, then leave for the away game. So he was just in an extended stay during that because it was already mid-season. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So then
that must have been so stressful. I mean, I can imagine that this is a very common story. I mean, I don't cross paths with NFL players very often, unfortunately. But I have to assume that's a pretty common thing. And then I think, you know, my thought is that you always have in your back of your head, like, what's going to be my game plan after, right? Like, I mean, that's got to be something that you're always thinking because you never know when something could happen in your career or an injury or anything like that, right?
Yeah, we didn't think about it as much as we probably should have. Like we had the multis, which was great, but I think we just very much assumed and like knew that Kendall would play for 10 plus years. So then when he got injured, we were both like, wait, what?
Yeah, what now?
what are you supposed to do? I don't understand. And when you get like, I mean, there's so much to it, but when you get like injured and you're not in a contract, you're just on your own. So he was going to like Salem, New Hampshire for rehab on this major injury for the, you know, like if he was with the team, he would have had rehab for hours and hours every single day, 7 days a week. But instead he's like, can I get an hour on Tuesday at 9? Like it was so bizarre. That's just crazy. Like a huge life shift. So, but anyways, I feel like we pivoted pretty quickly to know like, hey, let's do something so that like you don't go crazy and that we have something to work on together. We thought maybe like we'll buy and sell a couple of our own properties and like help a couple friends. And then it pretty quickly just turned into an actual business. So
did it pretty quickly turn into that because you really loved it? Did it quickly turn into that because like your friends and family really showed up for you to like, you know, have you help them? Or like, how did that transition actually happen? And why do you think it happened the way it did?
We put in so much work.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a lot to this story just of like the transition from sports to real estate. So that's why it's like, how much time do you really have?
We have 30 minutes, Kendall, but I want to hear the nitty gritty because I'm actually interested. I feel like I said, I feel like with any sports player, that they always have to have that in the back of their head. So, and you know what? Maybe it's not sports. Maybe they're, you know, doing some other kind of physical thing, or maybe they're a teacher and they're looking for that way out, or maybe they're doing anything like that. They're like, you know, there's going to be something I have to do after this. You know, there's a lot of careers that are like that aren't necessarily just sports. So, you know, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but like, give us the cliff notes. Like, what is that transition like?
Before he says this, I saw this TikTok maybe like 2 years ago and I was laughing because it's so true. This girl was like, no one gets into real estate when they're like at the peak of their career. And then they're like, you know what? I want to be a real estate agent. It's always when you're going through this like insane struggle or like
no other thing you can
dilemma.
do.
And you're like, I think I need to be a real estate agent.
Totally understand. And guess what? Those are the people that do the best at it because it's sink or swim. And it's either they get the heck out real fast because they realize it's not for them, or they excel because they have to. And that sounds like it's what you guys went through.
For sure. But yeah, I guess to make it concise as possible. So played in Kansas City, got hurt, was on a 1-year deal. So we already had the place home in New Hampshire. So we're home. Since I was on the 1-year deal, I had to do all my rehab and everything here in New Hampshire. We got licensed, started working, but I'm all under the guise that I'm going to go back and play football just because it's it's a wrist injury. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be good to go. But it just ended up being way more complicated. 3 surgeries later. This is all playing out over a 1.5 year, 2-year span. So we're like, okay, like we actually got to like start doing this because football might be done. Like I don't like when we started real estate, I wasn't sure if I was going to play football or not. I have tryouts, I have all this other stuff. So we were kind of in a weird spot because it's like, okay, if I get picked up and go back, then it's kind of like, okay, we kind of just hang on to our licenses and I go back to football. Or it's like, if I don't get picked up, if I don't, whatever, it's like football's done. Then like that's really what we're doing. So that was like our first year of real estate. It was like, we're in this limbo, having kids. I got picked up by the Jets. I was having tryouts with all these other teams. So it was like our first year of real estate was, like I said, kind of complicated, but I feel like we should be working. So that was like year 1 was like, all right. Then towards the end of year 1 is when I realized that, football is actually done. Then I was like, damn, okay, football really is done. So then, you get the post football, this life, whatever. Yeah, I was in severe depression.
You do. I can completely understand that. I mean, you expect your life to go a certain way, and you have this drive for this career, and then it's like taken out from underneath you. I mean, I can't even imagine. That's so sad. But you have this other thing.
Yes.
You now have the opportunity and the clarity to jump in full time, right? So I mean, at least there's that.
So then Kendall just what do you call it? Disposition. Kendall's disposition is to be a coach. Like that's just who he is in all aspects, with our kids, with me, with friends, everyone. He is a coach. So he was like, I think I want to get into coaching. I think I want to be a football coach. And I was like, well, that is essentially a volunteer position until you're in the NFL. So you're going to do that now, because 5 years from now, we are not going to be able to afford for you to be volunteering for a football team.
Yep. Right. Voice of reason
over
here.
So like I said, very, very complicated intro into real estate. So after we're in it for a year, like I said, towards the end of that year, is realized when like football's actually done. I'm like, okay, like what am I gonna do next? I abandoned. Well, I always helped Kristin on the weekends, but that's kind of when I stepped out of like being full time, and I got into coaching. Then I did like a sales job for a little bit. Like I said, helping Kristin on nights and weekends, but like we had another kid. So like our first couple years of real estate, like we were, it was okay. Like we weren't, we didn't, it took us a while to get going, which is very normal. So I don't like when people ask us like, how was it? I'm like, it really took us to like year 4. I mean, we have reasons why it took us that long, but like it took us a year 4, or I guess 3 going to 4 to like really like come into it,
Yeah, looking back, I think that's kind of a blessing, because we had 3 kids in 4 years. So had we been doing the volume that we're doing now when our 3rd kid was born, we just wouldn't have seen them. We would have had to get an au pair or something, So.
Exactly. The other thing is that like, with those last 6 years that you had been playing, most people, now you guys both grew up in this area. Right? So like, you're from Massachusetts and Southern New Hampshire, and you've had that, you have your like growing up people that are around, but now you've been gone for a little while and you've been all over the country. So now it's like, you don't have that sphere to kind of rely on necessarily. And, some people that are in other businesses, they have their past like work people that they can kind of rely on, but like you really don't have that, because your people are kind of all over the place at this point. So that is a really difficult, I'm giving you guys like that was hard. It was hard. And then you just started adding kids on top of it, which is
one of our biggest challenges was getting people to understand that Kendall didn't play football anymore and he was a real estate agent, because I feel like it was almost hard for people to take him seriously at the beginning. Like a lot of people, when they get into real estate, maybe they had a job before that was, no one knew what they did, So whatever, if you make a few videos and you talk to people about real estate, like they'll start to trust you. But for Kendall to be coming in here and all of a sudden talking about like multifamilies and why you should buy a house and like why you should sell with us, that's a hard sell for people.
Rebrand,
what
rebrand.
The football player?
Yeah. Like, what does he know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like some people were like, "Oh man, it must be so easy for." I'm like, it's actually kind of the opposite because everyone's like, all right, I get you could tackle somebody, but like, can you sell my house? And like,
Yeah.
and I would always have to
If you
like,
don't buy this house, I'm going to tackle you. So there's
yeah,
that.
I would always tell her, she's like, why are you dressing up? And like, also, I'm like, I have to like overprove myself because,
Yeah.
you know, and people are like, I don't know, like, you know, is this football player the best person to sell my house? And I'm just like, that's something I did, you know, but I'm like, I've taken a lot of great things, but it took a while for, you know, not to shed it because everyone's still, not everyone, but a good amount of people still know I play, but I'm like, it takes a while for people to like understand I don't do that anymore. That's something I did.
Yep.
And like, and I take what I do now very, very seriously. And, you know, so it's almost like with random people, I'd had better success than like, you know, the people that, you know, honestly, outside of like immediate friends and family, but outside.
Honestly, that's usually the way it goes for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people I talk to, like their spheres don't necessarily show up because it is a shift in brand. They're used to them doing a certain thing and now they don't trust them. But getting those like at bats at leads that are, you know, completely cold to you is way easier because they don't know you. They don't have any expectation. They just think that you're the realtor that's calling them because they're a lead, right? So I think it's actually, that is a very similar story to the way a lot of people are. I think people that their sphere shows up for them really strongly, I think they're lucky. Like, I don't think that happens a lot of the time, and it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. So, all right, so you guys start out, now it's been a year, now you're full-time, and now you have multiple kids and a lot going on. How do those next couple of years kind of like, how did that transition for you? How did you kind of ramp up and like focus at this point?
Yeah. So when Kendall joined me full time after his plethora of random jobs, which part of that was my fault too, because it's a little bit scary when you get into real estate and you don't have like health insurance and stuff. He had health insurance through the NFL for a while, but once that ran out, I'm like, is this something we're just going to pay for out of pocket? Like, don't we need a job that has, I don't know, like 401k and stuff? But whatever, we ended up taking the leap. And like 2 weeks before he joined me full time, I found a coach on Instagram and I was like, I need to hire you because I don't want to be my husband's boss. I feel like we will get a divorce if we're constantly going back being like, you need to do this. No, you need to do this. So anyways, we hired a coach that has like been hugely monumental for us, just as far as like getting us to learn that how to run this as a business, not a hobby, and how to not like run ourselves into the ground, right? And how to leverage different things. That's been huge. So then we've been up and up and up since then.
So what do you guys both bring to the table? Is there something that you focus on, Kristin, that then Kendall doesn't do really, and then he does more of this? Like how do you guys balance it between the two of you guys? And you guys have someone else on your team or no?
Yeah, we have a buyer's agent.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you guys balance it between the two of you? What are the strengths that you and weaknesses maybe that you guys kind of use together?
Well, I'll talk about Kendall first. Kendall does a lot. He does all of the operations, whether or not he wants to. He's taken all of that on, which has been huge for us. Just like all of the tech back end stuff that we did by hand previously. He hired us a VA. We have a transaction coordinator. He's set up like the website to be way better than it was previously. Like we just got new QR codes on our for sale signs that are awesome, stuff like that. Like he sets all of the back end stuff. I just more am like, oh, this would be a really cool idea.
Go make it work.
You have to have an idea person and then you have to have the implementer, and you're the implementer. That's
he's
perfect.
Also an idea person, but I get a total mental block about the implementing. He's really good at that stuff. And then also he's obviously super competitive. So I feel like if he sees that I'm ahead in sales, he'll like go balls to the walls to get more sales than me.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how do you guys handle that? Like, are you guys combining sales, or is it really like you kind of compete against each other because it makes you both better? Like, how do you guys do that?
We both kind of handle inbound leads that come to each of us. Most people will know one or the other or find us through one or the other's content. If someone just comes in as a team lead, then I think we kind of split it up based on their situation or their location. Kendall's from Nashua, so he knows Nashua a lot better. I'm from Dickinson, so I'm more doing like Salem, Wyndham-ish area.
I would say most people would probably reach out to us directly anyways. I mean, most people have her clients reach out to her directly. Most clients reach out to me. I mean, we have some that kind of just end up over there. Then we kind of just determine which way it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, it just depends. It's like, if one of my, because as we have our influence together, but I'm from Nashville. I know a completely different set of people.
Yep.
So it's,
and if they come in and they know you, they're going to want to work with you more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I like that. I think that that's a good balance.
Yeah. It's like, we have our own clients.
Yeah.
I would say every now randomly, if someone just like, oh, like, do you guys, like work on the deal together? We're like, absolutely not. We tried that in the beginning and it was.
Oh, it's so bad. We would have a group chat say like Kendall, myself,
terrible.
buyer, right? Husband, wife, 4 people in a group chat. But then like if buyer husband called Kendall and they had a chat, and then a few minutes later I get a text message that's like, okay, I'm all good with that. I'm like, what just happened? And then like he didn't get a chance to tell me yet because he was like doing whatever they just talked about.
Husband and wife communication wasn't strong.
I know.
I can barely get a grocery list with my husband sometimes.
Yeah.
Never mind working together. So I don't know how you do it. That's really interesting. I love that you guys split it that way, where it's just like, nope, we each do our own business, but then the common ground is where you guys like kind of come together.
Yeah. We both like know where the business is going, and we both do our events together and everything like that. We're a team, but yeah, we just 2 different clients. So
I love that. How most of your clients are coming because they've known you, and then it's like more sphere, or where's the biggest part of your business coming from? Because I do know that you guys have a really powerful social media presence. We do have both I just pointed in the wrong direction. It's like backwards. We have your links down there if anyone wants to reach out and check you guys out. But you guys do have a really strong presence. You do a lot of video content and things like that. So where does most of your leads come from?
Yeah, sphere of influence, our friends and family and referrals from them. I feel like one of the things about our social, like people will say like, oh, you have such great social media. We like genuinely love where we live, our whole area. And we're not afraid to tell people that about like where you want to go and what you want to eat and what you want to do. Like that's what people want to know who are moving here. So if you look at our business, like there's so many people that are finding us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok that are relocating here. And it's because they're like, oh, wow, this person knows what they're talking about. They love the area. We all know what we're talking about. You just have to make content about it.
Yeah.
How else are people going to know?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the people are moving to that area. They want to know what it's all about, not just, the houses, but also just the area, the restaurants, the places to walk, the places, the schools, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's helpful for like when someone's contacting us and they're like, oh, I want to live in the Nashua Hollis area. Like we can be like, what kind of stuff do you like? You like biking? Oh, there's awesome trails. In at Benson Park. There's awesome trails at Mines Falls. Like tell them what they're going to love about that community, because then they're going to be more incentivized to actually make that move there.
So what do you guys think makes you guys different? What is different about you guys versus any of the other realtors that are out there? Because there's a lot, as we all know, and some are better than others. And, you guys are obviously a really strong team. And what makes you guys, what do you guys think sets you apart?
Yeah, I would say we do a lot in social media. Yeah. And I think that's the best way for people to get to know you, like you, whatever, without ever having to have a conversation with you. You can just follow us along our journey. And what that does is it attracts people that are, I wouldn't say, that are like-minded. It's, we're going to bring our people in because it's like, you see who we are. So I think it's that transparency, and we're authentically ourselves. Yeah. And, we show it on social media. It's like, this is what this thing is. There's a camera. People are on it all day. So it's, that's where people find us. That's where they meet us. And even with our own sphere of influence, it's like, we create social media for our sphere of influence because it's easier than like having that awkward conversation. Like, hey, do you want to buy or sell your house? Like that's not like, you know what we do. I'm going to make some content. And if that content speaks to you, then you're more likely probably going to give me a call. And I think for us, obviously there's 1,000 different ways to do real estate. You could cold call, you could do letters, there's all types of things, do events. But like for us, the social media, doing the events, being out there in the community, that's like what fits our brand.
Yeah.
And so people that, enjoy our brand, they want to work with us.
Yeah. I think another thing is like we work our asses off.
Well, yeah.
Like that's like the benefit of having us as an agent. Like we're gonna show you the house, or if we're not showing you the house, it's because we gave you a damn good reason not to see it. We're doing so much outreach for our listings to make sure that they're selling at the appropriate price or more, within the right amount of time. Like we're really working so hard to make sure that we do a good job at this, which I think some people are like, oh, I can make $200K a year working 15 hours a week. Like that's great.
No,
but we're doing the best for our clients,
we work all day,
which is not that.
Yeah, exactly. So switching gears a little bit, tell me, like in you guys' experience so far, what is like the craziest thing that's happened to you? Craziest real estate experience or story that you have? If you can. Sometimes people are like, I don't know if I want to tell you.
I know. I have like 3 past clients that hopefully they don't watch this, but I hope to never have to watch.
Well, some of them aren't even your clients. It was just the other side of the transaction.
Yeah. But is there any like crazy things that have happened that, like, I've had people tell me that, we had one guy that's actually in Lamakia that he was like running down the street because their dog got out and he knew he wasn't supposed to. And like the client let the dog out of the house by accident and was literally chasing the dog down the street like miles until he got the dog back in the house, like stuff like that, Yeah.
I won't say who it was on our team, but one of us went to a showing out in the middle of nowhere, like an hour and a half away. And there was 2 identical houses next to each other. And the for sale sign was like almost in the middle. And one house had the lockbox and one house was just unlocked. So we went in and did the showing at the wrong house, which was just unlocked. Identical, okay? So didn't even know, showed the whole house, start driving back, text the list agent like, hey, what's this? And send a photo of like something inside. And they're like,
we don't know, what is that?
That's not in the house. And then it was this whole thing because then the listing agent had to actually figure out the contact information for the neighbor and let them know, like, I'm so sorry, but this person just did a showing at your house.
Walk your house. I just love these stories because like if there's agents that are listening to this that like, are newer in the business, they should be prepared because this stuff like happens.
Oh yeah.
I've had people have told me stuff like, crazy stories about like someone showing up to the house and like, showing a house that they thought was vacant and there's like someone sleeping in the bedroom. Like there's like crazy stuff.
Oh, that happens all the time. Maybe 2 years ago, I showed a place in Manchester that I got like 3/4 of the way through the house and I thought that I heard the laundry going because when washing machine's going, you hear the water trickling. And I'm like, there's someone in the shower. It was a tenant and the listing agent had forgot to tell the tenant that there was a showing at the time. And I honestly, like, good thing I'm a woman and not like a creepy guy that was doing the showing, but like it was this woman my age taking a shower. So I was like, holy smokes. And I realized like I had been there for 25-ish minutes in the shower.
How did they not know you were there?
So then I was worried. I'm like, are they dead in the shower? Like I didn't know. So I was knocking on the door because I'm like, why have they been in the shower for 25 minutes? And it ended up, it was this girl, she like came out in a towel and was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I had a showing. I thought it was the washing machine. Like, I was like, I just wanted to let you know in case you heard me walking around and stuff, like I'm leaving, but so awkward. But yeah, we also have a lot of other stories that I can't tell you because they'll know if they hear this. So
actually that came to mind. So I have a couple.
Yeah.
That I think will be okay to share. So there's, as we know, there's like multifamily properties, same thing with tenants in there. A lot of times their tenants are in there during the showing. Mm-hmm. And obviously during real estate, you have to, be careful what you say. You can't lead, you can't do whatever. But I was trying to like make it be clear to my buyers that like, this, we might see something. Yeah. And of course we opened the door, we saw something. It was what wasn't a great sighting, but it was like, in the middle of the city, and just a bunch of people just in there doing whatever they were doing. So that was like a very PG version of what I saw.
Oh, you saw the listing that had weed in the basement. Remember, in the closet?
Yes.
Someone that came to his open house came back up and was like, Kendall. Oh yeah. There's plants growing in the closet.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
There's that one.
He just like shut the curtain.
I feel like that's going to happen a lot now.
Then I think that other crazy one, similar to Kristen's story. I was at a showing time, confirmed. Everything was confirmed in the house. We're downstairs going through. Then I go upstairs, and right before I open the door, I could see through the crack. I'm like, somebody's laying in that bed. And I was just like, are
they alive? You have to wonder.
Yeah, I look at the buyers, and I'm just like, and they're like, I'm like, and they're like, honestly, we don't even like the house anyways. So I'm like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get out of here.
I mean, that worked out.
Crazy stuff.
Oh my god! And there's so much stuff that like.
This past Sunday, I made a TikTok about it, and I got obliterated by the men on there because everyone is so mean on that app. But
yes, they are.
But I was like so scared because I did a showing at this very remote listing that has been sitting for like 75 days. It was mid-century modern. It was all black on the outside and had black windows, and they don't open. Yeah. They're like, just a window that has no crank or anything, just to look out of. And it was like 100 degrees in there because there was no air conditioning. And I was so scared because I realized I'm like in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and no one would hear me if I screamed. And there was no way of getting out except for the front door. That was like the only method of egress in the entire house. And I was thinking to myself, like, I probably should have some sort of a weapon.
Yeah.
I go to do these.
Probably should. I'm now concerned about you.
Yeah.
I watched way too many Dateline episodes to not be freaked out by that story.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And I normally take like the random sketchy leads just to protect the girls. Yes. I'm like.
Yeah, no one's messing with you.
I was just like, sometimes like Monica's like, yeah, I don't have this guy. I'm like, I'm gonna go with you. Like, we're just gonna go together, or like, I'll just take this one because it's like,
yeah. People are crazy, so you just never know.
Oh,
so you guys had mentioned before. I can't believe we're like close to the end here because this has been awesome. You guys are the cutest, by the way, and also just like so much fun to hang out with. So. If you are a buyer or seller listening to this, you need to call these two because they're just fabulous to hang out with. And then they get to decide who to call. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So my last question for you guys is usually I'll ask like, what's your advice for people? But I want to kind of point this at something that you guys are really good at. Mm-hmm. In my experience, there's a lot of agents who don't do social media. Or they maybe know that they should, but they're afraid to put their faces out there, put themselves out there. They're afraid of what their friends or family will say, or like any of these crazy things that they tell themselves, right? I've heard all the excuses in the world as to why they don't do it. Well, what advice do you have for that person that is like, you know what? I know I should be more active on social, but insert excuse here, right? Like what advice would you give to those people to get them to start to do this?
Yeah, the world is changing to be using technology as our main method of communication. And if you don't use it, you will get left behind. There's no way around it. You have to show your face if you want to continue to be successful in this business. I think it's also it's the easiest way to be getting business. People feel like they know you before they even contact you, which is such an easier introduction than you trying to, cold call around a listing and see if anyone wants to sell. But I think you gotta, fake it till you make it, like get some confidence, make a video on something that you're really good at talking about and like ask a couple of your friends to comment or like it just to like, get it going. And then it's like, it is difficult to hear rejection and to see rejection on your posts and stuff, but for every negative comment, there's going to be 10 people that really loved it, whether or not they tell you. People will watch it and you might, make business from it in a couple years from now. But it's so important to show people who you are in order to grow your business in any type of sales.
And I would say just kind of back that up. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do it, but like there's so much free information out there. If you spend 1 hour on Instagram, you're going to come across 50 accounts that tell you exactly what to do to make social content. Literally, I'm like, half the time I'm sharing this with Chris. I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, or we should do this. And so, like I said, we implement. That's the thing is, I think everyone sees this stuff, but it's just like, are you going to actually do it? And that's probably the biggest difference, because I'm like, this is a good idea. We're going to do it. Kristen saw the QR code on the signs. We put it on. We saw this way to post our stories. We did it. We saw something else from another influencer that we're like, we added it to our repertoire. So it's like, it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel. It's just like, you got to do it. And I think that's probably the biggest difference. And when you start doing it, start taking action, there is so many people that tell you exactly what to do. Is just record it, put it out there. You know, one thing our coach says, it's like, if you have to think, you know, right before you post it, like, is this like a good idea? Post it.
Yep.
Like, you know, at the very least, people just ignore it. But like on the bright side, you know, something comes up. And like, I even tell Kristen, the social media guru, she hates posting on Facebook. And I'll take what we just posted on Instagram, that same exact thing, and I'll post it on Facebook, and I'll show her. Someone just messaged me on Facebook. I'm like, it works every single time. I'm like, and the best thing about social media, it's like, you could take the same content and put it on, you know, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on, you know, YouTube and all this other stuff. And you'll be surprised how that one piece of content may do better in other platforms. I rarely post on LinkedIn, and I just like decided to do it. So one of my friends is part of our saw the post, and he's like, because he's mainly on LinkedIn, because that's where his business is. He saw it on LinkedIn. He's like, where's that house? I want to see it. He's like, I want to work with you. And I'm like, that would have never happened if I never posted that on LinkedIn. And it's like, the content was already made. So you just got to take action. Like, anyone could literally look on Instagram and, you know, find something that fits with them, that fits with your personality. You don't have to go super far, whether it's, you know, you talk about food. Honestly, just start with things you're passionate about. Exactly. Like, I'm passionate about certain things. I love sports. I love food, all this other stuff. We love our community. We just talk about that. Then obviously when we have a listing, we show off that listing. You know, we give our opinion. I would say don't be afraid to give your opinion on things, because that's what people want to hear. I mean, there's obviously ways to go about giving your opinion.
Don't go too far, but
I would say, but it's just like, it's all about your delivery. You know, you can have a strong opinion, but you know, it's about how you present it, and people engage with it. And
you're absolutely right.
We talked a lot about social, but I feel like you just have to get started. I think it's really easy to compare yourself to others, even like we're not the best of the best, you know, like we have social media like heroes, I call them, that we just joined Reel under one of them. We have people that we look up to too, even though we've been doing this for, you know, since we were 22 or something, doing social media. It's like, just get started where you are, and you'll get comfortable as you go. And
you don't need like video. I mean, like the videographers and all that stuff. You literally I'll look at it. I'm like, the best camera you got is your iPhone or something like that. Like, you really, it's so sharp. You could do so many really, really cool things with it. And this one thing I saw the other day, feel free, whoever's listening, to go take it. And I know a couple agents that do it. Their whole account is just touring other agents' listings.
Other agents, they don't even have their own listings. They're using it as showing.
They call them, ask them, like, hey, could I take a tour of you? And they're like, absolutely. Boom. There's a post.
Yep.
Go find another awesome. Oh, this 123 Main Street and wherever looks great. Do you mind if I take a video? Sure. Boom. So now all these people are following, like, wow, this person tours great houses. Want to work with them.
Yeah.
That's simple. I have a friend of mine. He actually a former NFL player, Joey. I can't even say his last name. He's got an African last name, but he's out in Houston, and that's what you do. And he would just go tour all these, you know, awesome houses, these luxury houses. And guess what? He's now a luxury agent selling $1 million.
You're faking it till you make it, but
and it's not even faking
that becomes the perception. That becomes the brand. They think, oh, this is what this person does, and this is what they specialize in. That's who I need to go with.
And I don't even think it's faking it. You're literally showing what's on the MLS.
Yeah.
You're showing a house that is in, you know, wherever it is.
Imagine if that listing agent had done that. You know what I mean?
I know.
Exactly.
That's why
It's
we
crazy.
always do video for our stuff. It's like bare minimum. We have to, photos and videos
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right that like a professional one is great, right? There's a need for some of those professional videographers and things like that. But to be honest, the one that's going to do the best is the one that you grab and do quickly on your phone.
Exactly.
Because it's raw and it's real, and that's what people want to see. So
Yeah.
guys, this has been so awesome, like I said before, and we are like way over time because I could talk to you guys all day. I want to hear more stories. I want to hear all the things, but we're out of time. I really appreciate you guys doing this with us today. And if you guys have any questions for Kristin and Kendall, please reach out to them because they're an open book. And I just love how honest and open you guys are. And I just really appreciate that and you guys sharing with our audience today. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
And best of
Thanks for
luck.
having us. Yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with your friends and colleagues, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you're interested in being a guest, email us at info@crushitnre.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to crush it in real estate.